Cooking with E. Today we're going to make a simple sourdough starter. Sourdough became real popular during COVID. I guess a lot of people were bored and had time on their hands to make a starter, but it can take 7 to 8 days to get a starter going good enough to make a simple loaf of bread, and we'll do that in our next video. But today we're going to start the starter. I've got everything out I need. I use filtered water. They recommend spring water or mineral water, but it is not recommended to use water right out of the tap. Making a sourdough starter is a fermentation process, and so it actually sours. The milk and the water combined sour over time and produce natural yeast. So making it super easy to make a loaf of bread when the time comes. So I highly recommend doing it in measurements. I will give you the conversions as we walk through the process. But again, I have everything I need. So I've already poured out my water. It's a little chilly here outside of Denver, Colorado. So I put it in the microwave a little bit. You do not need a thermometer. You just don't want your water hot. But to give you an idea, my water is 92 degrees currently. And then I am going to measure out 60 grams of whole wheat flour. Now, this particular starter recipe recommends whole wheat. It tends to ferment a little faster, but when we feed our starter in the days to come, we're going to use regular all-purpose flour. Okay, so first we're going to measure it out, and we're going to put our dish on the scale, and we're going to do what is called a tare. That means getting it zeroed out while you have your bowl on the scale. And we're going to measure out 60 grams of flour, or about the equivalent of a half a cup. Okay, so that's 20. It's not a lot. Okay, and the reason I recommend doing the measurement is it's more accurate than using the good old American measuring cups. So get that. 61, 60 grams, okay? Super simple. And then one of the things you're gonna need for your starter, I like to use mason jars. You can pick them up at your local Goodwill or any home goods store. They're pretty good priced at Home Goods. I highly recommend washing them in the dishwasher to make sure they're good and sterile. And you're just gonna add your flour into your jar. I'll try not to get flour all over the kitchen. I want to thank everybody for joining today, and if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, subscribe. We're gonna be keeping everything pretty simple, recipes anyone can cook, keep them super easy and fun. And share if you like them with your friends and family. Okay, so now we're going to do our pre-measured water. This is 60 grams of water as well, or about a quarter cup. So the measurements are different. When you're measuring your flour, if you don't have a scale, make sure that you're using measuring cups that measure dry goods, so they look like this, and liquid measuring cups are your standard. I actually don't own one. I like to use this jar, but you know, your standard measuring cup for liquids, solids, liquids. Okay, so if you new cooks don't know that, there you go. And so we're just going to mix it up, and you want to get it good and blended really well. It gets kind of a batter consistency to it, and we'll get a shot of that in a minute. And just mix it up really good, clean the sides, make sure you get all the dry bits off the bottom and everything's well incorporated. Okay, and then you get kind of a thick consistency, and that's okay. All right, so the first 24 hours is the most boring when you're making a starter. Again, this is going to take about 7 to 8 days, and you're going to feed your starter each and every day for those 7 to 8 days until you have a live starter. And when you know it's good and alive, it'll be very bubbly. It's going to double in size, etc. So we're just going to try to scrape all this in there. So you may be wondering about the rubber band. So the rubber band, you bring down to where your starter is level. And this is just a gauge, it's not a requirement. When I first started making sourdough, I don't use one because I eyeball it. But until you're seasoned at making sourdough, I highly recommend you use the rubber band so you can tell when it doubles. And then it's, again, cold weather here, so we don't have any problems with gnats. But if you live in the country or the city, you know those little pesky gnats can get in your kitchen. So I just got in the habit of putting a cloth over my jar. You want your lid to be loose, right? Because when this starts doing its thing, it produces gases. You can blow your vessel. Again, I highly recommend a heavy duty mason jar. They're made for a bit of abuse, but you want to keep it loose so what I'm trying to explain is that this is going to have some give if I don't tighten the lid all the way, which I am not. And then I always cover it up with a clean cloth and then yet another rubber band. So during the summer, this will do its thing a little bit faster. Again, it's cooler. So I'm going to leave it out on the stove today where the room temperature is about 70 degrees or a little bit warmer. You want it about a 70 to 80 degree environment. If you've got a cold household during the winter or even at night when you cut your heat back, put it in the oven with only the light on. That's all you need. And just sit it in there and let it do its thing. So tomorrow I'm going to feed it. And then each day you're going to feed it a half a cup of regular unbleached all-purpose flour and another quarter cup. So tomorrow, and we'll resume this video and show you, this is going to double in size and then it's going to fall back down. And we're going to take half of it out, that's called discard, and then we're going to feed it. And we're going to do that about the same time each and every day for 7 days until we have a good healthy starter to make our first loaf of bread. So thank you for joining me again today with Cooking with E. And again, if you like the video and want to see more content, hit that thumbs up to subscribe, thumbs up to like, and share it with your friends and family. Thank you for joining me in my kitchen today. Hello, it's day 2, and it's been right at 24 hours with our starter. We're not going to do anything this first 24 hours, but you can see it's double in size overnight. And next we meet, we are going to learn how to discard and feed our starters, day 3 through 7. I've named this Josie Dough. It is lively and bubbly. You can see a picture of it here, but lively and bubbly like the Josie in my life, so I found that fitting. So tomorrow we will feed Josie Dough, and I look forward to going over that with you. What are you going to name your starter dough? The crash at the end of that take was my puppy, Dallas. Do you want to say hi? Come here. You want to say hi? I got to lift her up. Hold on. She crashed into the lantern in the corner. Say hello. Okay, we're back and it is day 3. We are going to feed our starter. So first of all, we are going to do what is called a discard. We're going to take half of what is in the jar out. I simply put mine in the trash. Right. So I discarded half of it. We're back down to about a rubber band. You want to keep your sides of your jar pretty clean. And we're not going to, or I'm not, going to measure out the flour. If you would like to measure it on a scale, it is 60 grams of flour or a half of measuring cup. and then a 1/4 cup of water, a little lukewarm, not overly hot. I have extra here because I look for a certain consistency. Again, kind of like that cake batter. So we're going to dish up our flour, measured out. Now this is the exciting part because you'll see it double in size each and every day, and it's just an exciting process. And you're going to repeat this days 3 through 7. And on day 8, we'll be ready to make a loaf of bread. That's the fun part. So we're going to feed our Josie dough, sourdough bread starter. There we go. So we get that all nice and even. And that's just regular all-purpose flour. Remember, we started out with a wheat flour, but to feed our starter, we are going to use an all-purpose flour. And so you just put that in there, and a 1/4 cup of water. More. And then we're going to make sure that's well incorporated. Clean the sides of our jars really good. And then we're going to repeat the process of keeping it on the stove. If your house is, you know, around the 70s, not too much higher than the 80s. And then at night, if the temperatures drop like they do here outside of Denver, Colorado, I just simply put it in the oven with the light on. So we're just going to mix this up really good. Make sure we don't have any lumps in it. And again, we have that consistency of pancake batter, right? Or runny yogurt. And again, you just want to make sure that you have it well incorporated and no lumps. And again, you're going to repeat this day 3 through 7. Then on day 8, you're going to repeat your discard and feed, and you're going to wait 3 to 4 hours as it rises, and your sourdough starter rises. It gets all bubbly and lively, and that's when you know you're ready to make a loaf of bread. Not when it's kind of dull like it is now, right after feeding. You want it to double in size and be ready to make an awesome loaf of bread. Okay, so we'll repeat that on day 8 when we make our loaf of bread together. And I look forward to you joining me in Cooking with E. If you have any comments, please drop them below. If you like this video, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and share with your family and friends. Thank you so much for joining me in making sourdough starter.